Welcome back to another exciting episode of The Genetic Genius. I'm your host, Dr. Lulu, and today we have a very special guest who's dedicated to helping women unlock their lasting beauty and vitality. Joining us is Dr. Brooke Foreman, a women's beauty and vitality expert with a unique blend of knowledge in Eastern and functional medicine, fitness, and yoga. Dr. Brooke is not just a healthcare professional, but a passionate advocate for vibrant living throughout a woman's life. With over 25 years of experience in the field, she's earned titles like Miracle Worker, Dr. Sunshine, and Wellness Warrior from her patients and colleagues. Why? Because Dr. Foreman is unwavering in her commitment to finding the best, simplest, and safest ways to enhance her patients' lives as quickly as possible. Through her expertise, Dr. Foreman has inspired and empowered thousands of clients, instructors, healthcare providers, and patients worldwide by integrating scientifically sound healing modalities from both the East and the West. She's created a powerful approach to natural beauty and longevity. In today's episode, we dive into the fascinating topic of biohacking on a budget. Dr. Brooke will share her insights, strategies, and smart techniques to help you unlock optimal results without breaking the bank. Whether you're interested in improving your physical appearance, boosting your energy levels, or enhancing your overall well-being, this episode is packed with valuable information. So get ready to take notes and discover how you can biohack your way to a more vibrant and fulfilling life without draining your wallet. Let's welcome Dr. Brooke Foreman to the Genetic Genius. Hi, Dr. Brooke. Welcome to the show. I'm so happy to have you here.
Oh, I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Before we dive deep into our conversation, which I'm super excited about, but I'd first love for you to introduce yourself to our listeners and our audience. Tell us about you, what makes you tick, what's your passion on the planet.
That is easy. Health and wellness is my bag. I am originally I moved here from Texas, and I'm currently living in Kauai, Hawaii. So this might tell you a little bit about my journey. I have always been in medicine, and I was a pharmaceutical sales rep and traveled all the world doing pharmaceutical sales, influencing doctors to prescribe more drugs, more surgery. And all the while I was teaching all kinds of fitness classes. I was an international trainer for a fitness company. So I was around teaching and training for a company called Les Mills Body Pump, if you've ever heard of Body Pump. And while I was doing that, I got hurt, and I was sent into the regular medical system, and I was offered drugs and surgery. And I thought, maybe I don't want to do that. Maybe I'd like to try something else. And that's what led me into integrative health and ultimately, changing my relationships, changing the way I was living, my lifestyle to something much more healthy. And here I am today. And I have a clinic out here in Kauai. I am an acupuncturist, Chinese medicine doctor, and we also do functional medicine as well.
Wow, that's great. I love that, Dr. Brooke. But a lot of times we see our own health journey, which then ignites us this great passion to help others. It's not always that way, but a lot of the people I have on the show, this happened to me, and then boom, here I am helping others. And it's really great to be empathetic and sympathetic, right? In a way for our patients to help us to relate to them in some way.
For sure. I feel like most of the time, and you may encounter this too, is these stories that our patients come with. And I try to encourage us to open up and look at our life as a bigger picture, like a Shiro's journey, like our hero's journey. And when we look at these traumatic events that happen, these terrible things, our traumas, our different things that happen that are like a big bomb in the middle of our life, we can choose to either be a victim, or we can take this hero's journey kind of stance and be like, I'm going to be the hero of my story now.
Oh, that's so true. Yes, I love that. And when we have a health story, there's so many ways we can change it and empower ourselves to rewrite that story that's really holding us back from our truest vision of wellness and health. And people get so stuck in their story, and it's like they're in the plot so thick, and they just can't see the next chapter or the ending,
or the ending,
ending, the finale. Yeah, and I think that's exactly what you're talking about. Just like that story that patients don't always, they get so wrapped up in it. So yeah, I totally agree. So as we are talking today about biohacking and all kinds of great stuff we're going to dive into, you have such amazing things on your repertoire. And of course, we're not going to be able to talk about them all, listeners, but we're going to hit some great highlights. But I really love to talk about biohacking with you. And if you could just start by explaining to our listeners, like what biohacking is for anyone that's new to what does that mean even, and why it's so important for our listeners.
I think this is the number one question I get asked all the time, because when you hear the word biohacking, you think it's some sort of Star Trek thing, and maybe you don't want to be involved in that. I don't know. That seems a little the scary AI talk, or something that is tricky or illegal or something like that. Let's just put it out there right now that biohacking is a way that you can basically take autonomy of your health by doing lifestyle changes. And what we try to do is look at the most amazing outcomes out there. What is happening in evidence-based medicine? And then we apply that to our current life. So we don't necessarily have to depend on our regular doctor to be coaching us on that. We are being very proactive with our health. We are taking our own power back in terms of our choices, because a lot of the things that we are dealing with in chronic disease and heart disease, cancer, all of those things can be assisted with lifestyle changes and choices. And so the simplest way to say biohacking is that we're using the highest evidence-based medicine outcomes, clinical data, and we're trying to do things, at least I am, without injections, surgery, and drugs. I'm a recovering pharmaceutical sales rep. Even in my clinic, I tried desperately not to give herbal formulas, even though my colleagues are giving tons and tons of formulas. To me, those are also just like drugs. What I like to coach people into doing is looking at your own life, biohacking it so that you can take more control, take less drugs, don't have the opportunity to have surgeries if you can prevent that, and just be able to start planning out your health span rather than just being the slave to your lifespan.
That's a great explanation, Dr. Brooke. I really appreciate the piece where you talk about the empowerment, right? And I think that's a piece where sometimes it gets like lost in the explanation of biohacking, because it really is this place where we're empowering ourselves as people on the planet, right? As a way for us to, this is my body. What can I do to be the best body, optimize my health, be a superhuman, right? What tools can I use that are the least invasive? And like you said, like even that can be things we're putting in our body. That could be herbs, nutrition, all those pieces. But what can we use that can give our body the best fuel? I love that piece about biohacking. It's like, how can I supercharge my cells so that they're just like rocket ships on every piece of their activity, which I think people don't realize what their body can like function like when they're in that place. I don't know what that would look like. And then when they start to move into that place, they're so excited.
I think also we have been trained throughout the years, at least I was, that you go along your life and you're just living it. And you wait till something happens, and then you go to the doctor will save your life and fix everything, the complete savior. And then you wait till the next horrible thing happens. Or you just go, my family had this, so no doubt I'll get that too. And I'll just wait here till the destruction happens. And I think that is hard to untrain out of people. Once people feel like, oh my gosh, if I could make a choice that could railroad that a different direction, all of a sudden they're all in. Then it makes a difference.
Yes, so true. I love that. And it's really important for people to understand that piece, that we are not, when we're in that disease state, when we're not feeling well, it's just that like state of mind, that one moment in time, and we can change it, right? We're the only ones, even as physicians, we can help guide our patients and help them, but we're not the ones that make the change. They're the ones that make the change. And I think that's another piece, like you said, it was like we've been taught something. There was this weird shift that happened, right? Where people gave doctors this power, this huge piece of power, like you said, fix me, but that's not a way for us to have a healthy planet.
It isn't. And I think when I was a pharmaceutical sales rep for this little teeny company, Quink, it was a huge company. I had an unlimited budget, and it was during the time when TV ads were just starting to play about the different drugs that are out there that they were marketing to the general public. And I noticed a change in the doctors. They were mad. They were angry, pissed off about it, because now a patient was coming in armed with something and saying, hey, what do you think about this? And then they're challenged. And I think we need to challenge. I think we need to start being more responsible for our own health. And part of that is looking at the data. How to do that is also another whole can of worms. But that's why you have to find the people that you really trust, that are doing the evidence-based medicine rather than what I call
goal-based medicine.
Yeah, Dr. Google or Crystal Feather.
Right.
Crystal Feather Lab. I'm bilingual. I'm part Crystal Feather and also integrative health. So
me too.
Whatever works.
That combination, that's the true natural doctor and natural healer for sure. Yeah. So when we're talking about the biohacking, it's really started to gain this popularity in the recent years. So how can women specifically really effectively maximize their biohacking budget? Because I think that's a piece, like, I can't do biohacking. It's gonna be this bazillion-dollar thing, but how can we really biohack that budget to then still have that optimal health plan? And then I'd love to talk about the skin piece, but first let's talk about that piece first.
I feel like biohacking is something that when we think about functional medicine, we think about looking upstream at what is happening to people. So usually when people are coming to you and I, it's like they, as we say, have broken boats and bodies in the surf after going over a waterfall or something. So in terms of doing a very good way to biohack, you have to first become aware that what brought you over that waterfall, and then maybe looking at, perhaps I would need a map so that I would know I'm not going to go over that waterfall. Or how about let's get a life jacket on? Or how about a really good boat? Just starting to figure out things that's obviously a metaphor, but to look at your own life and go, wow, okay, 4 steps forward before I even got into the water, what could I have been doing? And so when we start looking at that, it becomes quite simple. It looks like movement, it looks like food, and it looks like brain stuff. So relaxing and choosing purpose and joy and pleasure in your life. And I think it becomes a little bit, I like to use a lot of the concepts from the blue zones, because that was also myth busting on vitality and longevity, where we all thought we had to go and do CrossFit and eat keto or paleo in order to live longer. And now we got carnivores. Now we got all of these different things. But I think to answer the question, to save money, you got to look ahead and you got to move. You got to find a pleasurable way to move. Whatever that is, it doesn't mean you got to pay millions of dollars. In fact, the longest living people, according to the blue zones, they don't even go to a gym. They're just moving naturally, like every 30 minutes.
Right.
Could we do this? Yes, we could. Get a dog. And then you got that already happening. You're adding joy into your life. You're adding some purpose, and you have to do some movement, or you're going to feel really guilty about it. So I would say find some sort of pleasurable movement. I find that laughter yoga is really a good way to get people to open up if they're very dead serious type people. I've taught laughter yoga to the Marines, the Navy over here on Oahu, and they are very serious people. And in fact, when I taught it, it was a stand down after a suicide. And so of all the inappropriate times to laugh, you'd think that would be it, but it's also the most important time to move and get this pleasure and joy back in your life. So I would say movement. And then I would say, what are you putting in your mouth? Because your skin is also your mouth. And in Chinese medicine, the lung channel is your largest sensory organ, your skin. It's like a plant that has a stomata that opens and takes things in. So when I talk to people and I say, what are you putting on your skin? What are you washing your hair with? What are the makeups that you're using? And they're like, I don't know. And so it is awareness first. And then once you're aware, then you have to start making a little decision and experimenting with that. And I think that is when it's a really good idea to have a guide with you. You don't have to have someone telling you what to do here, because this is all about the patient figuring it out. And so helping people to find out what is best for them, that can be food testing, food sensitivity, it can be gut testing, it can be hormones, especially with skin, because that's what we're dealing with a lot with hormones. So those are the way to hack it cheaply. And then, of course, you can go down a whole rabbit hole, Tony Robbins style, if you want. But I think once you start to realize and price out a cancer diagnosis or a chronic disease, you start pricing that out versus prevention or integrative health, then it's going to win every time.
No brainer. Yes. And I really liked how you talked about those foundations for biohacking. And that's really what we're doing there. We're hacking the bodies like foundations and really building them like super strong. And those are easy, right? That's like you said, that's like a very easy to budget when you're looking at water. What kind of water are you drinking? How much are you drinking? What kind of food are you eating? Is it nurturing your body? Communicating, being aware, like you said, of what you're doing. Awareness is 99.99999% of health. Because if we are tuned out of our body, how can we be tuned in about what our body needs?
Yeah, it's a very interesting thing. I teach a lot of yoga, qigong, and tai chi at the resorts here. And so I get a lot of mainlanders that are coming away from their stressful life. And this is their first time to actually take off their shoes and put their feet in the grass. And they're like, ew, I'm not sure if I should do. And I'm like, first of all, it's good. We're going to reduce inflammation here by just taking off your socks. Okay.
That's
so
right.
relax.
So relax. I love air bathing and walking on the grass and grounding. That it's just so healing. And it's so true. Like you said, there's so many people that don't do that, don't go outside, don't experience. So yeah, being nature, listeners out there, make sure you're spending at least a little bit of time every day in nature, whatever that is. It's raining here today, but I still made time to go outside and just breathe in the air of rain, which is so healing. I just love the air and the rain, the smell of the flowers, and all of the plants are so happy when it's raining. Okay, so
breathe in that different microbiome is going to be so important. I don't know if Zach Bush, MD, but he talks a lot about the microbiome and nature and regenerative farming and all of that. And I do also coaching for him and his groups. And it impacts me here because I'm in Kauai, where when people arrive here, when they come here, they definitely have a change up. They're far away from their regular life, or it puts them in such a way that they can see themselves again. Because I think we're so filled with so many distractions that once we finally can come back to ourselves, then we can listen to our longest and oldest friend, our breath, our bodies. And then we can start to look at the body and the breath as our friend and not opponent, not the enemy.
Yes. Yeah, breath work, so important. And breathing, like you said, bringing people back into that body, even recognizing what breath is, but how it can change. Just bringing that into that parasympathetic mode and really just
Right.
helping to ground the body. So important. I love that. Breath work, breathing out there. We're breathing here. I hope you're tuning in and breathing too. Take a moment to breathe. So we're talking about skin. I love that you start to bring that component in because, like you said, skin is our biggest organ, and we everything is about the skin in our environment. So when it comes to beauty, I feel like many women rely on other things, right?
Right.
Botox, for instance, fillers, surgery, different cosmetics, all kinds of things. So what are some, if you could share maybe like three of your favorite savvy kind of strategies for achieving beauty without those invasive procedures? Because I know you have like thousands, but if you could, like, I think it would be great, just like your three top favorite ones.
Yeah. And first of all, I don't want to vilify all of us that have tried all the
Right.
things, because
Right. We've done
I myself have
it.
done Botox and all of the things, because inherently we do want to look beautiful.
Mm,
But we also, at least what I hear from people, is that they don't want to look overdone. They don't want
mm,
to look like they've had work. They want to, and they're willing to sadly go through all this pain in order to have a very small amount of change.
mm,
And so, what we talk about in our top three is looking at glowing from the inside. So,
mm.
part of what I was explaining is that your skin is a mouth. Okay. So,
Yes.
what you're putting into it also is going to be showing on the outside. But that also means that if you are not healthy on the inside, then you will have different things that show up. And because we use Eastern medicine and face mapping, we can look and see that that darkness under your eye
Mm,
is part of a kidney situation. Or maybe you have these deep nasal labial lines right
mm,
here, which have to do with digestion.
mm,
Maybe you have a turkey neck or something
mm,
like that. Each of these things have clues about what is
mhm,
happening from the inside out. So I would say glow from the inside is going to be number
mm.
one. You got to figure out how
Hashtag glow from the inside.
right. How are you going to do that? And it goes back to that functional medicine setup where are you moving with joy? Are you eating, drinking? And are you having some purpose in your life where you want to get up in the morning and do things? Because
Mm,
that's going to show in the brightness of your eyes and your smile. Because we've seen some absolutely stunningly gorgeous people. And yes, they have wrinkles, but you can see that light shining from
mm.
within. I would say that's number one.
Number
And
one.
yeah, number two is we do some Eastern medicine types of techniques using the biohacking of lymphatic drainage in
Mm,
with some of these ancient tools and techniques and put them together. So we're doing more of the gua sha so that we can drain the
mm,
face, we
mm,
can reduce swelling, we can bring blood flow. And that also includes the needling of the face, so facial acupuncture,
mm,
needling. All of these things bring collagen up to the skin surface and get the skin active again, unblocking chi and allowing the remodeling of the skin, as what we're doing when we're buying a retinoid, which is
mm,
making the skin. If you've ever tried a retinoid, one of the giant side effects of that is you start scaling like an alligator because
mm.
it's quickly turning over the skin. That's what you
Right.
want,
Those dead
right?
cell turnover.
Yeah. So if we can do that without that drug, because that is going a little bit more systemically, that to be affecting your gut biome and all these other things, because that starts to dim your glow from the inside. So I'd say number two is using some of these different kind of techniques that come from Eastern medicine that can really do something for your face. And then lastly, we do tapping, we do acupressure. So all of these types of things, and face yoga. So there's some different stretches that you can do. I can show you one real quick and
Oh
easy for
yeah, love
everybody.
that.
This one is, a lot of people tell me about their turkey neck. They're like, look, I'm fine with my smile lines because I've earned those. I don't like these ones. And then I say to them, what is this from? This is liver anger. stress, resentment. You remove that from your life. Guess what happens? These go away. You could Botox them and stay in your toxic life. What are you
There
gonna
you
do,
go.
right?
What are you going to choose? Toxicity or happiness and relaxation?
Yeah, this one works on the platysma
Love that
muscle
muscle.
right here. Yeah, you're going to take this finger, everyone's familiar with this
The
one,
middle one,
finger,
everybody.
and your thumb, and just place it right underneath the squishy part underneath your clavicle right there. That's the end of the kidney line. So you're going to press on that, look to the side, and then look up, and then do some kisses. Or you can do your jaw where you go like this.
Yeah.
So
super easy.
that
Yeah, you can feel it
lengthens.
lengthening.
Yeah. And so for
Yeah.
those of us that like are sitting on a computer where you're
Or on
jutting
the phone.
yeah, it's shortening that. And also it's not helping out the jowls, which are pulling down.
Right. Yeah, those are
So
great. Super easy. I love those.
easy.
Yeah.
Can be done every day.
Right. Yeah. Little exercises. And do you have, I know you were talking about doing gua sha for the face. Is there a particular stone? I know there's all kinds of like different ones out there. Do you recommend like a jade stone or a rose quartz stone? What's the best for someone to start purchasing something on their own and using that in their own morning or and evening face routine?
That's a great question. And I could say, oh my gosh, you've got to have this stone. But in reality, it's more about you doing it.
It's one. I love that. Yes.
It's more about you doing it. And you ask like a old Asian grandmother, and she's used like a top of a canning jar or a spoon to do the same thing. Do we need these fancy $200 stones in order to do this? No, you don't. What you need is something that feels good in your hand, something that you would consider continuing to do for yourself. Because if you buy this big expensive thing and you don't even use it, then what's the point?
Yes, you want to use it. You don't want to be flushing the product or like supplements down the drain. I think a lot of people do that too. Yeah, using it, don't just letting it sit on your shelf. That's a great tip. Yeah, and I love what you said too about finding something that works for you. It doesn't have to be this fancy crystal, but if you like that, people always give me things like that. So I have all different ones, but I just mix them up.
It's also what you would want. Like some people like to have crystals laying on them during a treatment, and rose quartz is a little bit more for the heart. Amethyst is more for abundance and healing and stuff. Citrine, all of these they have different attributes. Just like our acupuncture needles have different attributes. You use gold needles for something, you use silver needles for something else, frying or juicing things up. It really depends on what you like. I have a really lovely obsidian, a black obsidian that's cool. And I like to put it in the refrigerator. Sadly, every time I go into the refrigerator, but it reminds me to use it. I'm like, oh, okay. And if it's cold, I just grab it and do it a little bit. And then I have another one that is agate. So it has a bunch of different colors in it. It's also cold. Yeah. And I have it right next to my bed, along with the electrical microcurrent machine that I like to do every day, because we're using some of these biohacking things. And if part of it is like making them part of your everyday.
Yes, exactly. Right. Yeah. Everyday health. Yeah.
A lot of the research shows that none of this stuff works if you're not using it.
You go, today I'm going to try this. And then that's the only time you ever did it. And maybe you didn't like it or something. But yes, I really like you mentioned that and brought that up, because it's all about integrating the things, finding the things that you like, and then doing them in their daily practice. Maybe I like to mix things up, because I'm just an Aries and I have to always be doing something different. So for me, I have a list and I rotate it in and look for something new. And maybe today I'm going to do a sauna, but tomorrow I'm going to go for a run or whatever it is. But yes, I love that you brought that up. So listeners, find something that you love, and those things that we're talking about today, integrate them in and then do them daily. Your routine, right? Your wellness routine, but don't make it so that routine sucks. Make it so that it's fun. A fun routine. Yes.
I think it's all about just like moving the chi. So if I'm just going to say to you now that I am ridiculously lazy. And especially with skincare, I don't want a 45-point skincare system. And I would say a lot of my clients and patients are like, I don't want to buy all that crap and then just have it sit on a counter. So
Right.
the basics of, even if you read the new book out called Clean, they talk about your face having a whole microbiome. And as we use these 75 skincare things, we are sloughing off the microbiome. Part of what we want to do is use less. I'm not popular with this, by the way, because everybody wants to have this magic in a jar.
Right.
But Brooke, why can't I buy this whatever product and make my face this and that? And I'm like, it's a whole lot easier than that. You don't even need to spend the money. You can do some of these things yourself. That's why we hack it.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. Yes. And like you mentioned earlier, the glow, right? I mean, when we have that inside glow with the microbiome on the inside, we're going to see it reflected on our skin. And I think that we can even see that with you and your tone where you are in Hawaii. I have winter skin still, but I'm also very fair. But yes, in a way that when we have that glow, people notice it too. Oh, what have you been doing? What have you been changing? And then you can talk to your friends about, yeah, doing these biohacking techniques, or I'm doing these things in my healthcare routine. Why don't you try one and see how it affects you? And so that's how we spread our health into the community, because people see how great we're doing. And it's the simple things that stick instead of, like you said, the long list of things. That will work. Like, I love skin brushing and castor oil packs and sauna sweating, things that are really easy to do.
For sure. I have a little bit of a story too about, because people see me and they're like, how can she talk about beauty? She's in the sun all the time. And quite honestly, I am in the sun a lot. And I'll tell you a story that I used to want to be an oncology acupuncture. I would go to a lot of these oncology meetings, and I went to this one where this oncologist got up there, and it was a dermatologist and an oncologist on deck, like a panel. And they were basically arguing about the vitamin D levels in people's bodies, and the fact that dermatologists tell you to completely slather yourself in these chemicals in the name of sun protection.
Right.
And yet vitamin D levels continue to go down. And then this oncologist says, hello, everyone. Guess how you can get the fastest vitamin D? You go outside for 15 minutes, and that charges you for about 2 months worth of supplements. Another money hack, right?
Yes.
So when I was living in Austin, I moved here from Austin. I was doing all kinds of supplements and all this, slathering myself in sunscreen to completely block out the sun because I wanted my skin to look great. My vitamin D was in the toilet.
Right. 0.
And I was taking like 6 times the amount of vitamin D in order to try to get it to go into my body. It would not. So that says something about the absorption right there.
Right.
But when I went through my big divorce and I sold all my belongings, moved to Kauai, changed my life, and I was like, screw all of this. I'm just going to go out and enjoy the sun. I'm going to be in the sun for 15 minutes, and then I'm going to put on stuff. Natural stuff. And lo and behold, guess what happened? Vitamin D, boop, right where it needs to be. I never took a supplement.
Yeah.
So this is the kind of hacking that I feel like if people knew some of this stuff, vitamin D is such an important thing to be able to, and it helps with so many things down the waterfall, that if we can get at something like that, if you're roller skating out in the sunshine or dancing or doing a yoga class on the lawn, what happens to you? It's different.
Totally. I 100% agree with that. And I recommend that to all my patients. The same thing. Are you spending that time outside every day, right? Before sunscreen? And I do that myself too. As I mentioned, I'm really fair. I do need to keep myself covered, but I try to not use sunscreen unless I'm like really need it. If I'm on the beach, like snorkeling or something like that, I use a sunscreen that's safe for the reefs. I'm very proactive about that, but I have to, otherwise I'd be a lobster, which is not healthy for me. But
no, it is not.
I totally understand and agree with that. You have to have that piece. And I think you hit on a really key point about looking at your life as a way, what can you do that's simple, that is a way for you to really hack it in, right? Okay, maybe I'm going to eat some peeled carrots to boost my hormone levels. Maybe I'm going to eat some cashews, Brazil nuts. I'm going to be out in the sun. It's those simple things when we start to implement those, where the other things start to, they don't seem so difficult. And sunscreen is a huge one. That's a whole other conversation about the toxicity of sunscreen. So I'm always helping patients to find like the ones like, because I do tons of research. I did it when I was in college. I wrote like a whole paper on the toxicity of sunscreen because I know I use it all the time, and my family has history of skin cancer, so I wanted to make sure that I knew about it. Like, how can I be preventive for myself, but in a way that's healthy, have healthy, happy skin?
Yeah. And some of the foods and things that we can take in help provide a little bit more natural sunscreen for our skin. So
yes,
this is also some of the hacking that we can do, that people that go out in the sun all the time and that somehow they don't, even if they're fair, maybe it's because of what they're eating, it's coming through on their skin in a different way. We want to look at those things rather than putting chemicals in our skin mouth.
Exactly. Yes, that's so true. So I'd love for us to talk to you about the biological age, because I think this is a great segue into that. So I'd love for you to talk about how Eastern and functional medicine approach can really help women, because we're talking about biohacking, but also the piece of longevity, right? And how can we have this place where we're moving into even healthier tomorrow instead of this aging tomorrow? And that's a really old paradigm for women, where we're getting healthier every day. So I'd love for you to talk about that from that biological age perspective in relationship to biohacking.
Yes, I am literally obsessed with this. It's the easiest way to say it. And I credit the fact that my grandmother had rheumatoid arthritis diagnosis at 40. And I remember her having prednisone and all her deformities from this terrible chronic disease. And she said to me, hey, look, you need to get out there and do it now, because you never really know what your life is going to turn out like. And I remember, going through my life and different things coming up where it's, I don't know if I should do that, yes or no. And my grandmother would be on my shoulder going, yes, you should be doing things now. And so a lot of us don't get that until later in life, when we have some sort of big health scare that makes us go, whoa, somebody had a heart attack. And then it makes you think about your own, oh, that could never happen to me. So I feel like because of that, my grandmother put it into me like, look, you need to be choosing things that really matter in your life. And it's a bit like the little Asian gal with the sparking joy, Marie Kondo. How Marie Kondo takes a room and does it spark joy, if not get rid of it. I tend to do that in terms of life. So just to explain, lifespan is how many birthdays you have. And do we want to be 105 and then be on machines for the last 15 years of our life? No, we don't.
That sounds horrible. No, let's say no to that one for sure.
So what we want is what is called a long health span. And so when we look at that, is the years of your life that you are healthy. And that's what we really want to look at expanding. Now, all of the research out there is done on lifespan, how many birthdays.
Right.
Can we keep these people surviving? Sure. But they might be on machines. They might be a terrible quality of life. So now what we're having to look at is, okay, we really would rather have health span. So now we've got a lot of people talking about vitality and longevity, the blue zones. We got Tony Robbins with Life Force book. We've got Sinclair's Lifespan book. And then Outlive, which is Peter Attia. He's coming in with some of these hacking things too. And we're starting to realize is these outcomes can be manipulated, and we are manipulating them by using lifestyle modifications. When we do that way up the river, then we tend to be able to modify the genes a little bit. Whereas before, we thought the genes are the hard drive that you're brought into the world with, nothing can change. And what we're realizing is, hey, yeah, that's our hard drive, but we got this amazing software that we
Right.
can start jacking with a little bit in
Yeah,
order to
exactly.
dance. And obviously that's what your whole podcast is about
That's right.
is
Epigenetics
that.
and genetics. Yes. Yeah, that's so true. Yes. Yeah. So,
So that's part of what I think is telling the story. I think everyone is starting to look at that. We're starting to look at our life and realize that we have some choices in that. And I think that's when you want to have a nice guide alongside with you. Want to
mhm.
have the right research that, is guiding you in this way. We don't want to just depend on Dr. Google for all of these things. We want to really know the stuff that matters and works and
Right.
that's safe.
Right.
Safe.
Yes, safe. Yeah, those are some really great points that you brought up. And I love that you talked about that genetic blueprint, right? When we're coming in with that blueprint, but then we're learning, and that's like that old kind of thought process that you talked about, that when DNA first came into the picture, people were learning about it. Of course, we've known about DNA for a long time.
Yeah.
But now we're learning, like, okay, we have that blueprint, but everything around us affects that blueprint all the time, turning things on, turning things off, making things work more optimally. That's our goal now. Like you said, with that biological age and that clock, how can we turn on all those amazing things in our body so that we're like functioning amazing, and that it's possible? And I love that about health, is that we're such on this preventative forefront now, this futuristic medicine, as I like to call it. It's a medicine of now, but I think people are like in their, it's like thinking about this futuristic way. Oh yeah, what would I like my body to be like in 10 years? I love, me personally, I'd love it to be in better shape than I am now. Like, I am in good health and good condition, but 10 years, hey, I'd love to look back and say, wow, that was great, but look where I am now. And I think that's a huge mindset leap for people. And they're like, oh, wow, really? Yeah. And there's lots of functional medicine testing now that you can get that actual like measurement of the biological age. And then using that in combination with your genetics is just like mind blowing, right? Because you can see, and you can start to do, like you said, those lifestyle components.
Right.
Okay, I'm going to take this test, and then maybe in another year, I'm going to see, what did I do? What did I change? Do the biological age test again, and boom, whoa, look, I went from, I was maybe age 70, and now I'm looking like I'm age like 35, whatever that age is per person. But I think people, that's really amazing and empowering. Like you're talking about that empowerment component, when they can actually see, oh, wow, I feel good. And now I'm like 25 or something.
Right. And I think it's important to have a benchmark of that. This is why when you come and see us as a clinician, you would be like, okay, my pain is from here to here, like 0 to 10, so that we can have a starting point and an ending point with this biological age. With some of these folks are thinking that aging is the actual disease that we could eliminate, because if we can change what aging is, then we absolutely can change our health span for sure.
Yes. Yes. And put some people out of business. So I think that's a biohacking, like a super hack there, that I think that, like you were saying, with that history of pharmaceuticals, that's almost, oh, I don't know if I want you to be healthy. Maybe you won't need these pharmaceuticals anymore. And I think you're like waking up. They're like, oh, no, I don't need those. I don't want those. I want, like you said in the beginning, I want to use natural methods to heal my body. Of course, I'm saying those do have a place. Some of them have a place, but we're talking about from the biohacking, anti-aging, longevity perspective, optimal health perspective, where those suppress your body's natural ability to heal long-term and in the moment.
Yeah. And just looking at those telomeres, those tips, and figuring out what maybe your family history has to do with that, and maybe changing some major behavior that your family has done for years and years, just because you've done it like that, all of a sudden you could completely change your health span with one change. Part of that is the optics and being able to see what you got going on. And that's why it's a good idea to do some of the testing, because then it can really give the patient the idea of, wow, I am really making a change. Because I see this in skincare, where people are like, I don't know if this is even making a difference. And then I'm like, hello. And then we put up the before and afters, and then they get it.
Right.
Because you tend to look at yourself every day. So you don't really
Forget.
know. And the same with, I think, happens with your body too. You don't know what good feels like until you get out of the body that you're already in. And so once you start doing some of these hacks, you're like, wow, I have so much more energy. Wow, my knee doesn't hurt anymore. So now I can do more exercise. Wow, I love this hobby I'm doing right now. I find that my anxiety is a whole lot less. Just stupid little things like that, that sometimes having a guide reflect it back to you helps you go, wow, because it's hard to do on your own.
You shouldn't, you
What I
don't want
find.
to. It's just, there's so many different variables out there. Like you were mentioning with Dr. Google or any type of internet search, it's not going to, you're paying for a specific service, you're paying nothing. So when you're working with someone like yourself or like myself, you're paying for an expert, right? Someone who has years of evidence-based medicine in their brain. And with the patients that we've seen, it's very different because we can pull out of our brain all this information that we know that works, and is also individualized medicine. If you're looking for something on the internet, it is group medicine, right? It doesn't even know you. It doesn't know about your genetics, about you, what you are, how you eat. Just like you were saying, all your family coming together, it doesn't know you. So when you work with a health practitioner, we know you, we love you, we can help you, we understand you. It's very different.
I find too that the group sensation is also something that really, I think, coming from my background of group fitness and that group feeling, I can recall studying in Japan and going into this guy's office that I was observing, and everybody was packed in like sardines. And I was like, how inappropriate and how HIPAA, this is never going to work for HIPAA. But what I noticed also is as he was quietly taking care of everybody, everyone was kind of part of the healing because they could hear the soft voices of how the healing was happening in someone else. And we know there's research showing that when someone that you love that's in pain gets a massage and you're witnessing it, also are getting some benefit from that. So what we find when we do the group program is that people have that sense of belonging. They have this sense that there are other people out that are also thinking like them, because it takes some courage to go out there and say, let me investigate some other options, Dr. God. It takes a little courage to do that. And I find that when we have, my goal is to have more of a movement and a community of people that are like-minded, that we like to travel. I obviously live in a travel place. Most people want to experience something new so that they can find something new inside of them and meet people along the way. And that's ultimately what I really want for myself. And I think you want that too, to be able to travel and move around and meet new people like-minded. But it makes it easier to do this stuff. They say that you are based on the 5 people that you spend time with. Your health is related to that. So if you have a whole bunch of friends that are drinking whiskey and smoking and everything like that, then chances are maybe you are like that too. Or if you have a very fat dog, chances are that maybe you also have a little bit extra going on. Choose your friends wisely too, because these are the people that are influencing you, your health and your life.
Yes. So important, Dr. Brooke. And community and health group healing is the way of our future. And I know that that's a passion of yours and mine. It's just, I can see what the difference it makes. And when people are in that group healing together, it multiplies. And I can't remember off the top of my head what the name of the book is, but it was like the 8 group. It's got a butterfly. I'll have to think of the book and I'll put it in the show notes. But yeah, so it talks all about group healing, and especially in groups of 8, where we have this real bonding within. And like you said, it ignites that healing within all of us. It multiplies, it magnifies, it's a magnitude of healing. And that's what we need on the planet. And okay, great. If I'm going to this retreat or going to go to this workshop, I can have a magnitude of healing. No brainer. Sign me up. That's what I like, go to retreats all the time myself and lead them. I'm all about for my own healing so that I can be a mirror so that people can see. If I'm not doing it, why are they going to want to do it?
True. Yeah. I think that when you can get somebody into a new experience and and have another group of people around that are in that new experience together, there's some very interesting bonds that happen during that. And some friendships for life. I'm sure you've experienced this too in some of the programs where the community that you're building, it's less about you being the guide and more about the fun that they're having as group members. And some of my people have gone on vacation together.
I love that.
So I'm like, hey, invite me. But part of that is this magic that happens with that. And I think that goes a lot to say for longevity, which is the number one thing that's going to add more years to your life, which is you got to be social. You got to have those handful of really good relationships that are in your life that would bury a body for you. Or I can't believe I said that on a podcast, but like that.
Yes,
that
I know what you mean.
Call in the middle of the night person. And I think that's what partly happens in this is you start to meet like-minded people, like how I met you.
Right.
This is we're like-minded people talking about this same kind of thing, bringing more of it into the world. And I think we definitely need lots more.
Yes, multiply, send that energy out into the universe for sure. Dr. Brooke, I could talk to you probably for days, but I want to wrap things up for us because I know we both have lives to continue with our lovely healing. So let's talk about some things that you have. First of all, how can people find you, your website, and how they can find you on some social media sources to find out what you're doing?
Sure. I have a very easy way to get some of the hacks that we talked about, and it's called vibrantskinnow.com. So you can go and grab that. It's an ebook that it gives you the quick and dirty of how we do it in our programs. I'm definitely on Instagram, Dr. Brooke Foreman, very easy. And LinkedIn, same. And we do have a Vibrant Living Facebook group that we can put the link for as well. But yeah, I've got a bunch of freebies that I like to give out to people. I am the type that is a giver. I'm a go-giver. And so I have tons and tons of content on how you can beautify yourself from the inside out. And the Vibrant Skin Now is the different ways that you can avoid plastic surgery, basically, by doing some of these hacks, which is a lot of what people really want. And then I have the Juicy Jumpstart. It's juicyjumpstart.com, which is more of how do you stay juicy? And as we get older through menopause, our hair, our vaginas, our nails, we want
more juice.
Yeah. And our joints too. Right. So that one is a guide how to naturally juice up all of those parts and pieces.
Nice.
And who doesn't want a better sex life? Hello. We all
right.
do.
We didn't even talk about that. We'll have to have you back on to talk about sex because that's a whole different. We just said we had so much to talk about. Tell us about your 10-week program. We have another one starting in September, the Vibrant Vixen Vitality Blueprint. Tell our listeners about that so they can check it out and sign up.
Yeah, the website for that is Vixen Vitality Blueprint. And I have a 10-week program, and this is the one that we're talking about where we have 3 pillars. One is natural skincare. So we're going to be teaching you how to do all that. Number 2 is the maximizing your health span. So we're doing all kinds of biohacking for beauty, but also for health. But the emphasis is on beauty, and we're unapologetic about that. We really don't care. We want to look and feel our best. And then the last part is the juiciness factor. So that is adding more pleasure and joy and juice back into your life. And I would say that's the spiciest part, but it also is backed by a lot of research. We've got pelvic floor specialists that are guests in there. I have psychologists that are working in there as well. And so it's a girlfriend's club that I don't know. It's just so much fun. And I can't believe I get to be part of this whole gang. It just makes me so happy.
Yay,
so yeah,
I love that.
We're in it right now. So we have a big group right now, and then we're starting up in September. So if you get on that Vixen Vitality Blueprint, then it'll contact you when we open up in September.
Okay, super great. We'll make sure we put that in the show notes so everybody can check it out. And one last question, Dr. Brooke, as we're wrapping up today, if you had an unlimited budget, what would you do right now to make the biggest impact on our planet?
Wow, that is a great question. Gosh, that is a very big question. Okay, I would say that I have 75 ideas coming in, but
just let the first
probably
one flow out.
the biggest idea I would have would be having a big retreat center that is located in different areas so that people could get down in the dirt, increase their microbiome in all ways, come to places where it wasn't shameful to try something new and experiment with what is the best outcome for you. So I would say that would
Yay!
be
I
my
love that.
unlimited budget.
Ding! Yeah, I
Sorry
totally
for the
get that one.
delay.
No, there's no problem with that because you're letting the universe and your real like soul purpose come through. That's no problem for a delay. I love that because yeah, that's a really big vision of mine and many people that are on the show. That's one of the reasons why I asked that question is because so many people that are on this show have that same kind of like similar vision, right? And we're bringing it, we're manifesting it. We're like, I want to have an episode or a podcast where it just is just everybody's vision over and over again. You know, all because I've had your like guest number almost 200, I think. So that's really like crazy that we could be in that place of 200 people around the world just having this manifestation of dreams. So thank you for sharing. And that's one that can totally happen. I believe in you. Yay. Thanks, Dr. Brooke, for joining us today. I really loved our conversation so much.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. And it's lovely to meet you live. I love what you're doing in the world. Keep going.
Thank you. You too.